When it comes to Clementine, I had to accept the cold hard fact about the character if I was going to continue following this series. It's something that's no more unrealistic than what happens to us all in real life, and that is, children grow up and they change. Clementine wasn't going to remain an innocent kid forever. At some point, due to the world she had been placed in, her experiences were going to mold her into someone different. Season 2 tried to portray this aspect of innocence lost by putting us in control of her, making us the driving force behind what she does, and anything that happens to her would be because of our choices. While my first playthrough of Season 2 felt awkward due to this change, it was during my second playthrough that I finally came to terms with the arc that TellTale were giving us. I didn't think it was entirely well handled, but I accepted it on the grounds that should we ever see Clementine again in the future, then maybe the arc itself would feel a whole lot more realised as a result. And reunited we are as Clem returns to the series in Season 3. With her background now set in stone behind her, who was this older Clementine that TellTale were presenting to us? Season 3, also known as The Walking Dead: A New Frontier, follows the story of Javier Garcia as he deals with family drama in a post-apocalyptic setting. Because, you know, zombies weren't enough trouble, let's throw a dickhead of an older brother into the mix too, but I digress. Playing as Harvey allows Clementine to revert back to more of a supporting role, only being playable during a few flashback scenes. I welcome this. I feel Clementine is more suited to this role rather than being the main player character. Her actions and dialogue feel more focused now. No longer is she victim to doing something that seems somewhat out of character due to us making the choices for her. Clementine is once again her own person, and she's all the more solidly structured because of it. We meet up with Clementine when Harvey is kidnapped and taken away from his family. He escapes from his captors only to then wind up facing the barrel end of Clem's shotgun as she gauges up how trustworthy he is. And this is a great reintroduction to her character. It shows she's no longer as naive as she once was. She's cautious and she has her wits completely about her. Through all the experiences she's had so far, learning to be careful when meeting strangers should be one of the highest priority factors on her list of survival tips, and I'm glad to see it comes naturally to her now. Clem is as strong as she's ever been. While she might come across as a little cold to some, she does still retain some compassion in her. If she was entirely selfish, then she wouldn't have offered to help Harvey locate his family. The caring side to Clem is still intact, it's just defended behind a thick skin so she doesn't misplace her trust in people. Clem has learnt how to survive, and those lessons have kept her alive this long. Also, can I say that it's actually kinda cool to see Clementine with this sort of attitude. It doesn't make her an over-the-top badass who's all about shooting first and forgetting the questions entirely. It makes her a young lady who's able to spot a line of bullshit from a mile away and ain't afraid to challenge you about it. While she's clever enough to have learnt things like how to survive and fight the walkers, it doesn't make her automatically well versed in everything else though. She's still learning about life. For example, later on in the game, Clementine gets her period. She has come of age and nobody so far has taught her anything about this, mainly because most of the people she had befriended had either died or turned on her. Something as crucial as how to deal with a period was something that had been overlooked with Clem. She's not perfect, she doesn't have all the answers, and that's good because she didn't need to evolve into a Mary Sue. There's still human qualities about her that keep the character admirable but grounded. Visually, Clem probably looks better than ever. She's in her teenage years now and so her features have begun to change with her age. She has a stronger refined facial structure with a less rounded head shape and a much more leaner nose, eyes and eyebrows. Her hair has also grown out again, thus forcing her to tie it into bunches. I especially like the loose strands that hang down on the right hand side of her face. And yo, would you look at that? We found out that the letter D on her hat represented a baseball team after all. And how many of you thought it stood for the word dick, huh? Maybe it still does stand for the word dick. The Dick Team. There is one misfire that I felt occurred with Clementine in Season 3 though. Thankfully this doesn't really break her character and it's not really something I'm majorly concerned about, hence why this is more of an afterthought than a full-blown criticism, but Clem and Gabe crushing on each other feels like an unneeded addition to her personal character development. Granted, it's not a big part of what happens to Clem in Season 3, but you know, that might be what the problem is. The game pretty much throws the two of them at each other randomly with the intentions of showing us that, hey, you know, these are two teenagers. Teenagers crush a lot, don't they? So they're going to crush on each other. Enjoy! But to be honest with you, I didn't feel the pair of them had spent enough time around each other to really believe a potential bond between them could have blossomed, no matter how small. Sure, love happens quickly between teens, and they didn't entirely fall head over heels in love with each other either, but they hardly spoke to each other. They didn't really share much screen time together, and that left me feeling like this strange inclusion of a love connection was a bit out of left field. If it grows into something stronger in the future, then by all means go ahead, explore that angle and flesh it out more. I'd honestly be interested to see Clem fall in love and share a relationship with somebody. But if it's just going to remain as something that specifically happened in season 3 alone, only for the sake of showing us that these two silly kids develop a silly crush on each other because they're being silly kids, then, you know, yeah, it seems a bit pointless to include it. Clementine is great in season 3. I feel this is a solid evolution to the character we adored in season 1. While I do miss the happy innocent child that Clem used to be, if the character had to grow older and had to become somebody else, then this, in my honest opinion, is the perfect result for her. The personality holds just enough sentimental qualities to keep her feeling like parts of the younger Clem are still in there, but she's now grown enough to be viewed as a capable and responsible young adult. She's progressed from the role of a delightful but defenseless child into someone that we can rely on. She is no longer something precious that we need to protect, but someone who is willing to cover our backs and protect us in return. Clementine grew up fast, but she grew up strong, and I love how she's turned out in season 3. I only hope that in the future, when TellTale shifts the role of the main player character back to Clementine for season 4, that they remember what they built her into during A New Frontier.